So I decided to completely skip, for now, over talking about Kelly Dodd to instead kind of pivot to Vanderpump Rules because I love Vanderpump Rules. And this is the laziest lazy girl edit slide y'all gonna get. This is it. This is what we're gonna be talking about. Okay? Okay? I got some thoughts. Let's get into it. All right? Let's go. So my belief, Vanderpump Rules was never supposed to work. There is an episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I believe it's season 3, episode 8, that is supposed to be titled Vanderpump Rules, that quietly, almost accidentally, changes the trajectory of reality television. And almost nobody but some of us Reddit people talk about it. The setup was insanely simple. Lisa Vanderpump, queen of the Beverly Hills Housewives, aka Mama right here, um, she she asked her castmate, Miss Brandi Glanville, to come up into her restaurant, Sir, which, wait till I tell you what Sir stands for, because I had no clue until recently. But basically, she asked her to come sit in her restaurant and sit face to face with the waitress named Scheana Shay. Did I not get Scheana up on the main? Did I not get Scheana on the main? Where's my girl Scheana? Where's my good ass go? We'll be good ass go. Good ass go. Uh, I didn't mean to, like, only just have, you, like, I could have found a glam picture, but I apologize. I didn't get to it in time. Um, but put a little outline. There we go. It'll update in a second. All right, there we go. Miss Sheena Shay's right there. So Brandi came and talked to her, Miss Sheena Shay, right? And um, this is the woman who had an affair with her one, honestly, probably like many people, honestly. I think Eddie seemed like he got around, just to be honest with you, allegedly. But it was a painful conversation. Brandy's raw, Sheena's defensive, and then the camera does something it had never done on the Housewives show. It stayed at the restaurant, right? It drifts away from the Birkin bags, from the Beverly Hills drama, into the back alley of a West Hood Hollywood restaurant where the wait staff are smoking cigarettes, gossiping about who hooked up with who, and dealing with the kind of petty, messy, glorious interpersonal chaos that you only get when a bunch of hot, ambitious 20 somethings be working together in a confined space. And that episode, it functioned as like basically this backdoor pilot for what would become Vanderpump Rules. The season 1 premiere of VPR debuted as a crossover episode with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, featuring a conversation between a then RHOBH cast member Brandi and VPR cast member Scheana Shay. And just like that, through this awkward sit down between a scorned Real Housewife and the woman who slept with her husband, Bravo accidentally creates one of the most unhinged, culturally significant reality shows of the last 15 years. The season aired from January 7th to March 11th, day after my birthday, 2013. That was the first season aired. And the show, like I said, was the first spinoff of the Housewives show. And nobody expected this to work. And we about to get into it. Nobody. And you know what? You can't even find that original RHOBH crossover episode on Peacock easily anymore. It's like literally the Rosetta Stone of freaking Bravo spinoffs. It's like an artifact that literally changed everything and is buried somewhere up in the streaming vaults and to release it. But it did exist and it mattered. Because without that one episode, without Scheana Shay's affair with the wrong married man from CSI Miami child, and we ain't talking about the one we love, the black dude, or Mr. Horatio with the glasses. No, we're talking about Eddie. Like, who did Eddie play? I don't even know who he played in CS Miami. Anyway, and please don't tell me he was like a dead person, okay? Because that would just be awful. Um, I think he may have been a tech in the office or something. Like, not a tech, like a forensics of a dude. Oh my gosh, I need to get back to CSI. Such a good show. Such a good show. It was like my show when I was like younger, my brothers, my mom, and stuff like that. But anyway, so yeah, Scheana Shay got it popping with wrong man, and without that, and without Brandi Glanville's refusal to let go, there's no Vanderpump Rules. The entire franchise, it kind of does exist because of one woman's infidelity and another woman's rage, and that's something like you literally just cannot make up. You know what I'm saying? So To understand why Vanderpump Rules was such a strange, almost absurd bet for Bravo, I want to go back and have you understand what Bravo was in 2013. You see, the network had built its entire brand on aspiration, right? The Real Housewives franchise, which was the backbone of the network, was about wealth, glamour, designer labels, and women who lunch, right? The audience was meant to be people to look up to these women, or at least sideways at them with some fascination and envy. And that's the formula. It was here are these rich people, and then here are these rich people fighting about rich people things. Vanderpump Rules, however, flips this entire formula upside down because instead of following the rich lady, you're following the rich lady's employees, the help. Like this, I haven't really gotten to the other spinoffs, but like, what is it? Beyond the deck, below the deck. I think it's also like kind of a familiar environment too, just on a yacht or something. I think my voice is already going, probably because I already recorded earlier and then working. But I digress. We're gonna get through it because I love me some Vanderpump Rules. Um, and I have so many thoughts about it. Like now, like taking like a retrospective look, and it's just so interesting. Like I don't know, like if I'm about to go through a wave of emotions, okay? Because there's something like that. Like Vanderpump Rules just fed me in certain points in my life, okay? And then there became a certain point where the show was almost like away from social media and more so, I feel like living out on Instagram and Reddit and like this is for me. For me, Instagram was when because Katie, Mama, this one right here, up on the side, she can be brutal with her word. Like, I have in live time watched her say some harsh things on the internet. Okay, but we're gonna get into it because I think I literally am talking about the meanest cats on television. I do think they are. I do think they take the cake. But anyway, I digress, and you guys know I'm always digressing. But yeah, so you're following the help, you're following the rich lady's employees, the people who served the goat cheese balls, while Lisa Vanderpump surveys her domain like this benevolent British monarch in stilettos. Let me stop because I'm gonna sound like Gina if I try to do a British accent. I'm just like, bring it like back. They're like, please stop. I would have been like Love Island, UK, yeah. I'm just kidding. But Vanderpump Rules, it follows Lisa Vanderpump and the staff at her restaurants and bars as they're working on building their futures in the show business and they're becoming entangled in all this interpersonal drama. And I'm going to tell you what the restaurant name means. If you didn't know, it stands for Sexy Unique Restaurant. Hey, you know what? It's been around since the late 1990s. You do see Glumero, I cannot say his name, G. You see G on the show, and you see Natalie on the show. They're husband and wife, and they're co-owners of Sir Restaurant and Lounge with Lisa and her husband. And very smart because you get to split the cost, the responsibility. Like very very smart to have another like successful parent. Put y'all money together, do what y'all got to do, and there you go. We get our sexy unique restaurant, sir. Um, it's really interesting. Like on the entire show, I don't think they ever say that one time on the entire show. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really maybe unless it was like in like the stuff you didn't see, because sometimes back in the day, if I remember correctly, those episodes weren't always like available with the entire season. So sometimes you want to go be rewatch at a certain point in time. You couldn't just easily like just rewatch those. So I don't remember as freshly. But anyway, sexy unique restaurant has been around since the late 1990s. Vanderpump and her husband partnered with G and Natalie, another husband and wife, to be co-owners of Sir Restaurant and Lounge. Um, but it really wasn't until Lisa attached her name and the Bravo cameras to it that Sir actually became a cultural landmark. You know, the kind of place where tourists are going to be lined up just to get some goat cheese balls, or at one point in time hoping to see Jax Taylor making them a pumptini. And so the original cast, it consisted of Kristen Doty, Katie Maloney. Let's say Katie Mahone, sorry. Katie Maloney, Tom Sandoval, Stassi Schroeder, Scheana, Jax Taylor, and Lisa Vanderpump as series regulars. And you got Peter, and you had Tom Schwartz, and you had Mike, Shay, that was a homegirl, Scheana ex-man, and Laura Lee, and then you have Frank. Oh my gosh, remember Frank with Stassi? As reoccurring cast members, and Ariana Grande, and especially Ariana Grande. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the day for me. But Ariana Madix also made, I think, some guest appearances in the first season as well. And like, listen, these are not rich people. These are bartenders and servers in their 20s and early 30s living in West Hollywood, splitting the rent, trying to become singers, actors, models, and in the meantime, pouring drinks and hooking up with each other at a very alarming rate. And obviously, drama is just part of the job for the employees at Sexy Unique Restaurant because they tend to date and, in most cases, subsequently break up with their fellow coworkers. And Stassi Schroeder, mama right here, um, she literally is like the energy of the place. Like one time she said about the energy in season one that like working at SUR is different from working at any other restaurant. The servers all want to be models, actors, writers, singers. The servers at other Hollywood restaurants just want to be waiters at SUR. I thought that was so funny when she said that. Like this is where everybody else wants to be. They just want to be waiters at SUR, while all of us we want to be like doing what big girls are doing, which tells you a lot. It tells you that SUR is not just a restaurant; that it's a staging ground for aspiration, like a place that communicates hope to some people, like that bridge of becoming what they want to be, which eventually is Tom Sandoval singing "Touch in Public." Okay, which actually is a bomb video. I'm not gonna lie, I ended up rewatching it, and I was like, this video is actually really, really freaking good. And you won't hear me say that often about Tom Sandoval. Um, but yeah, like Surge is not a restaurant. It's a signal of hope almost. A holding pen for people who are all convinced they're destined for bigger things, but were in the meantime just pouring some wine for tourists. And that tension between those people who thought that, they were the bee's knees and what they were actually doing is kind of like this engine that powers the entire show. That's just one part of it. So we got the drama. It's a lot. Like Vanderpump, it's just, I love it. Okay. I love it. But what began as a show based around the employees of Lisa Vanderpump's West Hollywood restaurant, SUR, quickly progresses into a series that documents the lives of its core group outside the workplace, where the drama always was present. And that's the beauty of VPR, right? Is that the cast, they were already friends before the cameras rolled. And Stassi Schroeder has explained that the close-knit dynamic of the staff at SUR is basically due to the fact that everybody who already works there is a friend or an acquaintance of someone who already works there. Kind of remember when Clubhouse first came around and you get on the bed, you had to uh, have a friend to verify you to just be let in, kind of like that. So you're always associated with somebody, and it just makes things more convoluted and more complicated. And this is not a cast assembled by producers in a boardroom. That's also what makes it interesting, because this is a real, at this time, pre-existing social ecosystem where every grudge was real, every hookup had history behind it, and every alliance was forged in the trenches of like Friday night dinner service where y'all in the mess. You ain't getting tipped right, you got drunk. Like that's where your life is happening. And that's what made the show feel less like television and more like you're like this fly eavesdropping on people's messy life. And when Vanderpump Rules first premiered, the cast, they were legitimately making ends meet. Y'all remember when Lisa would suspend them for a week? They'd be like, "Y'all, I ain't gonna make rent. I'm gonna be on the street." And there was no OnlyFans. But this was raw, right? The series was documenting from their small apartments. Y'all remember there's like that one apartment that I think started as Stassi's apartment, and then from then on, like everyone who, it was like just like a rotating house of just nothing but SUR staff, like a unofficial, official, just like, this is the SUR staff place where we and we drink and we probably throw up and just and we move on to the next one, moving on to the next one. That was the type of energy you had. And when Vanderpump Rules first premiered, like I said, that's where you see them at, which is raw and real. And that rawness is just what ended up separating VPR from everything else that Bravo was doing at the time. So now let's talk about it. This is actually I'm supposed to be on. I'm so messed up today, okay? So like Bravo had tried spinoffs before, right? They had given individual housewives their own show, but VPR is just something fundamentally different. This wasn't giving a housewife her own platform. It was giving a housewife staff their own show, which is almost absurd when you think about it. Okay, because listen, you got Lisa Vanderpump, who works in a mansion called Villa Rosa. She has miniature ponies and swans and a closet that is literally the size of my house, okay? And the show is about these 20 somethings who literally bring her customers bread. The class divide was baked into the premise from day one, and it was just fascinating. And see, Lisa, she occupies, when you really think, this is like, come on, y'all, come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because people don't talk about it enough, because it's not that common. And it's like, who else do we have to compare her to talk about in this breath? But Lisa occupies this very weird triple role on the show. She serves as a cast member and an executive producer on the series. It's like if Andy was on the show with the girls. That's weird, right? She was the cast actual employer, but she's also an executive producer with influence over how the show is shaped and also how you appear on the screen. The way people get introduced to you, Lisa controls the way you're perceived. And she controls your paycheck. That's insane. That is a lot. That power dynamic, boss, producer, cast member, we saw it create a tension that was always present, but never fully confronted. And you know what? I really think that's why almost everybody walks away from Lisa Vanderpump with a really bad, like almost like it, not a really bad, but you can tell it's not friendly with her and a lot of the people from the show because of this being shaped, because I'm pretty sure they feel personal about, like, oh, this season you had me portrayed this way and I know you had a direct hand in it. And even if she doesn't have a direct hand in it, you're going to just feel like she did. All your personal feelings, even if she did or didn't do something, are going to probably be leaning towards her, and it just makes the dynamic insane. And I'm not going to give Lisa no breaks because I think she also did utilize that power at certain times. And the younger cast, they were very new to reality TV too. So as a more seasoned reality star and executive producer, LVP would insert herself into their drama, into their lives to guide the drama along. And in her role as the quote unquote boss, she literally be hosting team meetings at Sir Y'all, which function as these showdowns between the dueling staff. It would just be like time to like piss off at each other. But this is at work, which is so weird. And as the show went on, Vanderpump would end up employing the girlfriends and boyfriends of the cast, or even people they just suspected they were cheating with, just to be a little messy. Like, really think about that. She literally would hire people to create drama. And that's not just being a boss, that's being a reality television puppet master who happens to freaking sign your paycheck. Part of what worked about the early seasons of Vanderpump Rules was honestly the unequal power dynamic between LVP and her staff. Because she's not only the boss at Sir, but she's also basically kind of responsible for like handing you the golden ticket to the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, child. Like that's really what she got, the golden ticket. And you get this opportunity to be quote unquote reality TV famous. Was that one time when Lisa sat down Stacy for a talk, whatever. What did she say to her? You're not important enough to hate. Sit down. Or a cast member having a scene, a producer steering a storyline. The answer was somehow all three at once, and that ambiguity. I cannot speak. I begin to. I can't be speak. Anyway, that ambiguity was part of just kind of what made VPR so uniquely compelling on Vanderpump Rules. She almost had like these Machiavellian qualities that kind of worked in Vanderpump's favor. And here, she actually was the executive producer, and she didn't have to act like the staff at Sir, even her equals, or hide the fact that she was blatantly stirring the pot just to create some drama. Like, y'all remember when she hired Scheana Shay to come work for Pandora, where she knew Stassi was going to be feeling type of way about it? And had her right in there working, right up in there working, and having Stassi come in for work, turn her little apron around. What are you working on? My blog. I wonder how that blog is doing. I wonder how Pandora is doing. Blessings to them. But anyway, but yeah, so like the show, it was geared around portraying Lisa in a positive light, and most of the cast, they knew that their role was kind of misbehave a little bit. Like Jax knew his role was to go sleep with everybody. but not too much. Because if you did it too much, it wouldn't end well for you. Because especially in the early seasons, if you got fired from Sir, it often meant leaving the show. I want to say I feel like Kristen Doty was one of the first ones to really change that. Um, because Kristen Doty kind of started to like be too much to be valuable to be working for Lisa, like too much of a liability, but yet she was too central to almost everybody's storylines and the drama to let Lisa just have her off the show just because she's off the restaurant staff, if that makes any sense. And I think that's where Kristen Doty changes the trajectory of just because I'm not an employee for you doesn't mean now you can take away. Like they don't have apples, martini, pumptinis. Okay, you can't take my pumptini, child. But yeah, and when you really think about the dynamic of that power dynamic in the early seasons, getting fired from your waitressing job, it didn't just mean losing a paycheck. It meant potentially losing your spot on the show. With Lisa holding all the cards, she's the boss who could fire you from the restaurant, the producer who could influence your edit, and the cast member who can narrate your departure to the audience. It's so much to it, right? It's like very layered and complex power structure that a prestige drama would build an entire season around. And VPR just had it naturally from day A. And you know what? Bravo also tried to replicate this exact magic, and that episode y'all can find, unfortunately. Um, uh, one of the episodes was called Summer House Rules, and it was basically a crossover preview to Summer House. It felt so weird. I remember one dude was just like hitting on Stassi, and it just was uncomfortable. And didn't he like not remember her name or something, and she got really offended? Am I remember that correctly? But I think they were like in the Hamptons or whatever, and they just looked so uncomfortable because they just wanted to get it popping, and the Hamptons wanted to get it popping in a classy way, I guess. I don't remember, but it's just never gonna hit the way VPR hit inside of RHOBH. That transition from the Beverly Hills wealth to the Sir back alley, it was just lightning in a bottle, right? The VPR cast going to the Hamptons to meet the Summer House people, it just kind of felt like a very manufactured crossover event because it was like you took the girls out the hood of Sir and put them into the niceties of the Hamptons. And our cast, they did not belong there. They belonged in the hood, okay? I don't care what y'all said, especially Lala. Feeling like I'm feeling you, like I'm feeling you, like I'm feeling you, boy. Lala, I can't. Side note, she looks like homegirl from Grey's Anatomy, but the one who Joe, she looks like Joe from Grey's Anatomy to me. And a little bit of Maya Mitchell. A little bit of Maya Mitchell is who Lala Kent looks like to me. Um, but I digress. But yeah, like that lightning in the bottle, you can't get it back. The original VPR plot, it just felt like this organic discovery. How much time have I been talking? I be getting so sidetracked, but it just felt like this organic discovery, like this camera accidentally stumbling into something that like we just shouldn't have been watching, and that you can't engineer twice. And I feel like Bravo has kind of spent the better part of a decade trying. So the class divide and how it dissolved. Um, so this is another point I was thinking about that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough. That the class divide on VPR wasn't just between Lisa and her staff, y'all. It was also within the cast itself. Remember, when Vanderpump Rules first premiered in 2013, all of the main castmates, besides Tom Schwartz, worked at Sir. And I think that's important to see Tom Schwartz, who would, I think, going to become one of the most central figures of the show, right? Like he's actually important to Lisa in a way you can tell is different from other people. Even though I think they regret and bit him in the behind afterwards. Because I think they could have deal without Tom and Tom, and they could have named that restaurant something else. But I think the part of success that Tom and Tom does is the fact that it's from Tom and Tom, and I do want to go to Tom and Tom one day. So hey, what can I say? Tom and Tom, but not Sandy and Schwartz. Sandy and Schwartz. Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to do that. Another side note, I hope All About Her is doing fine too, because I heard it was doing the best. Um, but I think those ladies are smart enough to put it together and to save their restaurant because it's like a small sandwich shop, and I think they put in the like get some fan engagement, like really Not that I actually watch any of their podcasts or anything. Like I don't listen to any Katie Mahomes pod. I really should start listening to some of their stuff. I know Scheana Shay's always creating content. Stassi's always talking. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna talk a little bit about them and like where they are now and how I feel about all that. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I just love this franchise. What can I say? But back to it. So Tom Shorts, gosh, y'all remember when Tom Shorts, did he throw the drink on Stassi or did Stassi just throw the drink on him? That felt so long ago. And was it Tom who took his shirt off, or was it Jax who took his shirt off and was like yelling in the parking lot, like "Let's go"? And then Lisa was like, "You guys went and got it popping at a restaurant when y'all work at a restaurant for me, and y'all people know that y'all my people." I'm pissed. Y'all can't be going somewhere else, like going to someone else's house and you're real estate. I don't know. I don't have a comparison. I was gonna have a comparison, but I'm just gonna stop. Let's get back. So Tom Shorts, who is going to become one of the most central figures in the show, he didn't even work at the restaurant. He was just Katie Mahomes' boyfriend, Katie Maloney's boyfriend. I'm gonna start saying their first name, Katie boyfriend. He was there socially and he wasn't there in a professional demeanor, and it really in the beginning created this very um tight tension early on because some people at the show were actual employees with actual shift. They actually had things to do, um, or they could get suspended and be missing they rent check. Their rent check gonna be short. Um, but then you had Tom who was just there drinking sometimes. And then y'all remember when Tom ended up getting the job, and then he freaked out and had to leave, and then somehow he still got arrested. We're gonna talk about that one day, okay? And we're gonna talk about Katie and Tom and their marriage and the downfall of it. We're gonna get into it. But I love seeing Katie walk into what I feel like is herself and stuff. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, in 2016, I have a quote here. Lisa told Thrillist that part of the deal is if they're working at the restaurant on the show, they have to work here legitimately. If they're behind the bar, they have to really work. But she even acknowledged the complications that, of course, when we're filming, they have to comply with what production is doing and what they need for them. They work about 3 days a week while we're filming, and that's 5 months of the year, and they get a month or two off to do press and appearances promoting the show while it's airing because they do a lot of promotion. So I thought I while I was working I found that she said that, and I thought that was very very interesting, because it like it just takes you back to the trajectory, right? Like the time, a little bit of time that they would be working while they were not filming, like that small amount of time, like what was it, like maybe like 5 months of a year or whatever that they're working, they're not doing press and they're not filming the show. Those were like a lot of times where stuff would really start getting happening, like tense things would be happening between the girls while they're on the job, and then you would end up starting off the season like knowing like what the heck is going on between these people. And these are the occasions that were happening before everything was just automatically on social media, so it was always like very exciting. I remember sometimes like when VPR News would make like the lipstick alley, which is not that common for like white dudes, at least not what I would see. It's like make the lipstick alley, and that's when you knew the drama was really popping, okay? um but even from the beginning, with this schedule that Lisa talks about, the show, it ends up existing in this weird liminal space between actual employment and performance of employment. The people who really worked there, but they also kind of didn't. They had shifts, but those shifts were organized around the filming schedules. So they served real customers, but those customers had all seen the show and also had opinions about them. And they all also kind of had like their understudies. Like if they were like all like, we're gonna go to Vegas for the weekend, whatever. At least like losing my whole staff for a weekend, and you know weekends everybody want to eat, child. They all kind of like had understudies who couldn't go to these events, like Stassi's birthday. They couldn't go to those type of events because the fact that everyone else was gone, so they had to work because the people who were actually filming were doing their actual other job. Um, so I remember Stassi, she also opened up about the job, and she said too, it's so weird because every single table that I serve has seen the show, so they already have an opinion about me, and they're normally not good opinions. It's also weird, like as you're working, because Stassi did legitimately work there. Every single table you're serving are people who know your first and your last name child, and probably your mama and your daddy first and last name, and your little brother too. That's weird. That's just weird. And as the seasons progressed, this tension, it just really became untenable. The cast stopped being waiters who happened to be on TV, and they started to become TV stars who happened to occasionally appear in a restaurant. Lisa, she fired, we talked about that earlier, Christian Doty after she yelled at the manager, and Stassi Schroeder admitted that she also just stopped showing up serving shifts during the season 3. And she's like, yeah, I stopped going, y'all. I just stopped clocking in. Said deuces. And by season 9, the gap had just become absurd. Like, perhaps one of the biggest changes in the series was that at this point, there was no filming really done at SUR. Over the years, while you got Lisa Vanderpump, what she called it, sexy, unique restaurant that had been serving as a backdrop for the show and had driven so many storylines, it's weird because you're not seeing Tom Sandoval or Ariana Madix shake and pick Pumptinis behind the bar while drama goes down in the parking lot out back, where Kristen's like, let me in, let me at him, let me at him, let me at him, let me at him. Let me at him with it's chain smoking cigarettes. And a little bit of part of the show having a little bit of the sir lessness, I guess, or whatever. It can be attributed to the 19 and that shutting down dining for a while, but you can also help wonder if it's also because so few of the cast even work there anymore. And then came out the definitive confirmation because according to Ariana Madix, they didn't work there at all. On October 20th, she said, no one from the cast actually still works there. And in fact, what was left of the cast, no longer even worked at SUR. Man, the Peter, he is the only person who still works, I guess, for the Lisa in general, because I don't think he works at SUR anymore. I think he works at a different restaurant. And he was barely even on the show. But he had been there since 2008, and he worked his way up from the busboy, and he was kind of the last link to the original show. Everyone else is gone. And as the show evolved and grew in popularity, it soon became basically impossible for them to do their normal hours alongside filming for the show. And Lisa Vanderpump admitted that by the end of Vanderpump Rules, the cast was just really more of reality stars than restaurant staff. And I think that's the paradox at the heart of VPR. Because listen, do you think about it? The show was about working class restaurant employees who are so entertaining that they become famous. And once they become famous, they can no longer be working class restaurant employees. Kind of like Teen Mom happened with that, right, too? A little bit. Now they're just these really rich women who have kids too, which almost makes sound more like housewives and now teen moms in a way. The show's success, it destroyed its own premise in a sense. And watching that destruction, we watch it play out in real time, season by season. It's just kind of part of what makes VPR such a fascinating, to me, almost like a cultural document. It's just such a weird thing that we just kind of happen to have developed. Now, I want to talk about how they're mean. Because no one talks about it. No one. Just how mean, MEAN. Genuinely, delightfully, but also unapologetically mean. And I don't mean villain edited mean. I don't mean the producers cut together unflattering footage to make someone look bad mean. I mean, these are people who will look at their best friend in the eye over a plate of goat cheese balls and say something so devastating it could end a friendship in any normal social circle. And then the next day they'll just show up to brunch at Lisa's house like nothing happened. Hey Lisa, let me in. Let me in, girl. And I think that is the defining characteristic. Lisa be like, which producer gave that damn girl a key? Which producer opened that damn gate? But this is the defining characteristic of VPR, and the thing that, in my opinion, makes it genuinely, you just can't replicate it, okay? Other reality shows, they have villains, right? Other shows have drama. But VPR is a show where I feel like almost every single person at one point operates at a level of just casual cruelty that in the real world would put you in therapy for years, child. And they just all kind of accepted it. As the ecosystem, as the water they swam in. We gonna talk about it. All right, let's talk about it. So first, my voice going. I'm sorry, y'all. My voice gonna be gone, and y'all just gotta deal with it. But first of all, we're gonna start with her. We gonna start with her, okay? Stassi Schroeder was the original Queen Bee, and she ran the friend group like a dictator. Nope, no joke. Fans were first introduced to Stassi in season 1 of Vanderpump Rules. She quickly became. She reminds me so much of Maisie, like of what the character be Maisie from The Click. That's what she reminded me of, but in real life. She quickly became the dominant personal presence on the show and an early fan favorite. If you cross Stassi, and I always say her name wrong. Like I always say Stassi. If you cross S, you are out. Period. She literally like just kind of has this gravity to her. Had it like this ability to orient the entire social structure of the cast around herself. Her birthday was everybody like they just knew it was like the hat, just everything about Stassi. And gosh, okay, we could just really get into it because I almost want to talk about Jax. It's just like there's so much. Like, which Stassi you want to talk about? Redemption Stassi, like it's insane. But I'm trying to stay on top. I'm trying to stay on task. Okay, stay on task. But she just had this way of freezing people out. She would orchestrate social dynamics and she would weaponize the group against whoever was in her crosshairs, and it was insane. It was we're relentless. Okay, actually before VPR, she was actually on a reality show called Queen Bees, and it was basically this like competition TV show that is very similar to like VH1's Charm School, but it's not like with white girls. So they had 7 mean girls, quote unquote, move into a house together in order to like better themselves. Though they thought they were competing for the title of Queen Bee. Y'all remember when reality shows really like to do that for a little bit? They really like to like make you think you're on something, but you're on something else. I have never watched it, but I'm about to try to see if I can find it and like get into it because I'm very curious. But so that was Stassi's show, okay. Stassi was basically in a house, and she is basically thinks that she's competing for no, thinks she's competing for the title of Queen Bee, but she's really supposed to be being a better person. So let's be real. Being the villain, being the mean girl, it's not an accident for Stassi. It was more of a career path if you really think about it. And even the petty stuff with Stassi, which is kind of a power play. In the first season, she hated Scheana, the new girl. She would make her do the grunt work at Sir because Sheena's affair with Eddie was like this personal affront to stay Stassi's moral order. I'm not saying I'm gonna start saying just S. Um, yeah, so like Stassi had some feelings about it, even though S's own boyfriend Jax was literally cheating on her with half at West Hollywood. We're gonna get into Jax, okay? Stassi, she just kind of like responded to Sheena's silent treatment by telling her like, "I'm not sure what I've done to you, but I'm gonna take me a Pinot Grigio, whatever." Which when she delivered the line, which way better than me, she did it with perfect deadpan cruelty, and that just tells you everything about who she is on the show. She could literally insult you and order a drink in the same breath. And now we're gonna talk about this moment. I didn't know I could do this on here, and I kind of like love it. That I could just like while I'm talking, pop them up because I actually like have no like clue like what order I'm gonna like talk about them. I just like wrote notes on my thing. All right, that's Dossie. So now we got Katie. You see how I'm always like so messed up because I like keep getting I can say Schroeder perfectly, but for some reason I always like say Stassi 2 different ways. And then Katie, I always end up saying like Katie Mahoney or something because I'm like just talking off the cuff and also just kind of doing a puzzle. But anyway, Katie, and this is important. Katie's meanness, I think, was always wrapped in self righteousness, okay? Which somehow kind of made it worse. Because she didn't just attack people, she attacked them from like this position of kind of perceived moral authority. I think the most iconic example is kind of what she did to Lala Kent. Katie, she calls out Lala for allegedly dating a married man. Lala, she denied ever doing such a thing, but Katie, she kept going with it, and she kept calling Lala a WHOR, and just kept saying, I call it like I see it. And like literally, listen, that I call it like I see it. It sounds like such a simple line, but it was one of the most infamous lines in PR history. They replayed that as much as RHOBH replayed Erica in the Russia, German, whatever, when she had on the and she had the look. And Bravo played the heck out of that clip. Like, I can't snap. But Bravo just kept playing it. Kind of like that is how VPR played that clip. I call it like I see it. And It's not the most dramatic thing ever said on the show, but there was something about the energy behind it. Like Katie said it with the conviction of someone who genuinely believed she was doing this public service by like slut shaming her coworker on national television. Katie, and she stood by her name calling Lala too. That's another thing. She is a Capricorn. She said what I said, and I ain't changing it. Okay, we understand. And it wasn't just Lala. At one point, Katie referred to Scheana as a WHORE, adding yet another woman to list of girls that she is slut shamed on VPR. Katie does have a pattern, and the pattern was that anyone who didn't conform to her specific code of behavior at that point was kind of for her just fair game for public demolition. And see why I said meanness cast? And now, where's she at? Ain't nobody got me feeling like I'm feeling you. Like I'm feeling you. I forgot, James, but there's like just way too many people to talk about. So I do apologize that I forgot Mr. James Kennedy. I think that is a disgrace of me to forget about him because and I didn't forget about him. It's just there's way too many people, and I should go. No, I don't feel like it. I truly just don't feel like it. Y'all know who James Kennedy is. So, Miss Lookalike Joe to me from Grey's Anatomy and a smidge of Maya Mitchell. Feeling like a feeling you. She became the target of Katie's cruelty. She became just as mean once she gained power in the group. Fans of the show would not argue that Lala's presence made her female cast members of the show uncomfortable. Since she showed up, she has been a target, or she was a target. The females almost immediately accused her of pretty much being a prostitute. It was bad, okay? But Lala also didn't do herself no favors by the way she was acting, and by the way she was also treating people. Because she also body shamed Katie. She called people out. She went nuclear on anyone who looked at her sideways. Thank God she decided to become sober. Her giving up alcohol was the best choice she ever made. And to just start having babies. And she just started having babies on her own. And I commend her for that. Because her with Randall was a mess. Remember when Randall got in a beef with 50 Cent? And then 50 Cent was like, you owe me money. You don't want to be on 50 Cent bad side. That is a man who let nothing go. Curtis Jackson lets nothing go. Okay? And any chance he has, he's another mean person. Any chance he has to literally tear the dog behind out of most people, Curtis Jackson will do it. Okay? So Lala deciding to just, didn't you remember when she had her a pick my man, my future child's father party at Lisa Vanderpump's house, and they help her pick a man to have a baby on her own? I don't remember, but more power to you. And she became sober, and that was better because she was mean. Okay, she was mean, but she was also being very mean too. Anyway, so we got her there. I think again I'm gonna be breaking this up and probably just recording. Like I'm probably gonna stop after this part because I could just keep on going. And I want to read a book with my daughter. We have been getting back into reading together. So and I'm gonna save some of my voice, even though she let her like read everything. I like to read too with her out loud. But she likes to read too a lot. So and I like listen, hear her talk. So I love my daughter. Who we about to talk about next? About just being me. Oh. Where's she at? Where my girl at? And nobody got me feeling like I'm feeling you. Like I'm feeling you. James is also mean. Like and him deciding to be sober too was a good idea. Now let's get the Ariana, okay? And I say this with genuine love for this woman. I could she can be cut in a very specific and a very intellectual way, okay? And she has said at one point, I was never made for reality TV. I don't think I've ever been what makes a good reality star. I think in some ways that's what's made me a good reality star. See, Ariana, she kind of just has this quality that drove other cast members insane. This sense that she was so above the drama, smarter than the room, operating on a different frequency, and she really wasn't shy about letting people know it. which often she was right about it. But that doesn't really make it any less mean. I think it just makes it a little bit mean with some SAT words, really thinking about it. But this is what I think also is very interesting. Ariana's really not that mean to me. I think hers is a little bit more difficult of a, I don't know, because she just never really felt like she fit in the first place to me in the entire atmosphere of VPR. But she also didn't feel like she should have been anywhere else. That's what makes her, she's like an anomaly, like more of an enigma to me a little bit. And what makes her interesting fit for what comes later in her life is she was always the more tomboyish one of the group. Remember, she was the one who always wanted to be just kicking it with her boyfriend Tom and with the other Tom, and she wasn't trying to be put on them heels and all that type of stuff, and she wasn't obsessed with glam and Instagram aesthetics in the way some of her casts were. She like co-wrote a cocktail book, and she worked behind the bar. She wasn't even a waitress. She was one of the girls who worked behind the bar. And Ariana, she's like a successful actress now. She was a bartender. She basically turned her survival job as a bartender into a flourishing career. Um, she even worked at Disneyland before, sir. I didn't realize that. And she actually performed as like Little Mermaid's Ariel, which I can see. Sleeping Beauty's Aurora, and Cinderella, which I also can see. And her edge, it was never really about being the loudest or the most glamorous. It was always about being the sharpest. And sometimes I feel like it was her being the sharpest that really drew the blood. I remember she was with Stassi. Like, and I think her and Stassi have the same birthday. She's like, "Girl, we are not the same, okay?" It took Stassi a while. I don't think I have a picture of Kristen Doty, and I'm not about to grab it. Y'all know who Kristen Doty is. Y'all know who Kristen Doty is. But out of respect for Ariana and the old days of her and Kristen Doty, I will boop take Ariana off. I'm talking about Kristen Doty, because Kristen, who's a Pisces, dear Lord, she always operated on another plane of existence entirely. She wasn't just mean; she was chaotic. Okay, she was the kind of person who would show up to a party with receipts she had been collecting for 6 months. She'd be blowing up someone's entire relationship, and then she'd be wondering why nobody wanted to sit next to her. And then remember when she told the manager to suck a D while chain smoking on camera, and Kristen didn't get fired for it. Because by that point, that showed they needed her chaos more than Lisa needed a polite employee. And it was also, that dynamic was kind of messed up too with Kristen Doty a little bit on the show, because she was always coming for Ariana. But then it was just like a little ambiguous on Ariana than Tom's past. Like, did it cross over with Kristen? But at the same time, Kristen, she cheated on Tom with Jax with at Tom's house. Messy. I do have a picture of Brittany, of Miss Cartwright, but I have a picture of Miss Cartwright with, because it's such a beautiful picture. Because it's her, she pregnant, and then she looks so cute, and dumb Jax, but Jax is actually really attractive. I'm not gonna lie. Don't know when I said that, but he's very cute to me. But he's a jerk. But always keep Jax away from me, because he is fine. I ain't gonna lie. And I'm very fluid, so. And I think Brittany is also very gorgeous. Why is my brain like not working? Like, oh, duplicate. I was like, how did I do this again earlier? There we go. Woohoo! Um, but yeah, actually that's perfect, because I'm about to talk about both of them real quick, and then I will come back tomorrow, and I will pick up talking about Stassi, and then we'll talk about Tom, and then we'll talk about. I have some thoughts. I wish I could just go ahead and get them out now, but I'm getting a little tired because I get like so into it, and I like feel like getting like all excited and all that type of stuff. But anyway, Brittany, she was marketed as like the sweetheart, right? The Kentucky, um, and the one who didn't belong in the snake pit. And for a while, we did see that edit hold, right? Especially her standing next to Jax, you just always felt sympathetic for Brittany. But even Brittany to me had her moments, because I don't think the show allows sweethearts. I think VPR is an ecosystem that turns everyone mean eventually. Because I feel like the environment demands it. I feel like the group dynamic is built on escalation. And if you don't match that energy, you kind of get eaten. And I feel like Brittany learned how to match that energy. And Jax let's be clear, is the original villain of the show. Remember when he was hooking up with homegirl? Um, and 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 Lisa said, "Y'all better not have been doing nothing up in my bathroom on the clock. I'm gonna clock you out. Try me if you want to." Um, but Jax, like I said, original villain of the show. He's a pathological liar, self-admittedly. He's a serial cheater, and he's a man who seems constitutionally incapable of telling the truth, even when the truth will literally serve him better. And let's talk about the sunglasses. Let's talk about the sunglasses. They was traveling to Honolulu. This dumb behind man goes and steals a very expensive $300 pair of sunglasses for no reason. He literally gave them to his girlfriend, Brittany. Almost got her caught up in the mess. For some reason, she still married him. I think if you almost get me arrested, it's okay for us to break up. J-Lo didn't go back to P. Diddy. She left. Do the same. But he got busted for taking the sunglasses from the store about a block away where they were staying, and they were all on a trip together. Everyone else went home. This man had to stay up there in jail. He didn't even come back. It was just so much. And I remember he said something like, "I had too many drinks, too many Mai Tais. I made a mistake. I take full responsibility. I understand it's going to follow me for the rest of my life due to the fact that I'm on television." No, Jax, it's going to follow you for the rest of your life because you're dumb. For like, you don't think that those people are going to come find those $300 pair of sunglasses? And also, $300 pair of sunglasses is dumb in its own. But I digress. I know there's way more expensive, but it just goes to show that Jax has this capacity for bad behavior, and it's honestly almost awe-inspiring in its consistency, because it wasn't that he was the worst person on the show. It was that he was the worst person on the show repeatedly, and he would find new creative ways to be worse season after season, and now he's just doing it on the Valley. But he would sometimes just always manage to just stick around. And so you see my point? VPR, it has no moral center. There's no good person. There's no character you can point to and say, yeah, that's the reasonable one. Once you realize you're not actually supposed to like anyone, it is really hard to not just kind of get like soaked up into this like wild ride of this like literally alcohol soaked group. That's literally what they're some of them bartenders. And that's what made it work. The show was a closed ecosystem of this beautiful, ambitious, messy people who were all on some level terrible to each other. And they liked it that way. I know I said I was going to stop. But I'm not. Because we're going to talk about Stassi. And then we're going to talk about Tom. I think I'm just going to keep going. Because why not? And if you're here with me still at this point, at 53 minutes, you know who Stassi is, and I don't have to like show you a picture. And if I call her Stassi by accident, you guys understand what I'm talking about. So yay. So she deserves a special spot because I think that no conversation about VPR is complete without talking about Stassi. See, I was saying about Stassi Schroeder's arc, okay? Because I think it happens to be one of the most dramatic trajectories in Bravo history, and a lot of it actually happened off screen. Okay, so Schroeder, she was a main cast member for seasons 1, 3, and 5 to 8 of Vanderpump Rules. And she appeared in a recurring role for season 4 before her departure from the show. This alone was a wild ride. She was the breakout star of season 1. She was our narrator, our queen bee, the person the audience loved to hate and hated to love. And then about the season 3, she bounced. And she admitted at the reunion, she literally just stopped showing up to her shifts. And she kind of came back with a diminished role in season 4. Then she fully returned to season 5. And by season 8, she was engaged to Bo. I like Bo. Some people don't like Bo. I like Bo. And I like Bo for her. Honestly, if y'all like them, I love them. If y'all, as long as y'all claim like, yeah, I love you too. That's honestly kind of most of my opinion and most of it. But she got engaged to Bo, and they both have, I think they have like 2 kids now, and she's very seemingly happy in her happy ever after off camera, you know? Have I listened to the podcast? No. Will I? No. Most likely not. She's written 3 books. Will I read them? No, probably not. But they're all New York Times bestsellers, and I don't have. I've never had a New York Times bestseller, so go Schroeder. Um, and apparently her podcast is massive. She's got her fired a couple times, but she was transitioning from reality TV villain to a lifestyle brand. But then in June 2020, everything collapsed on her behind. Okay, because this is where the context does matter. So we got Faith Stowers. Now Faith is a black woman who appeared in VPR in recurring roles. Um, and she infamously slept with Jax. Jax is a dog. Um, and last time I checked, Faith wasn't married to no Brittany, so y'all better leave Faith alone. But anyway, one day, Faith, I think this is how I think it happened. So I think Faith went online, Instagram Live, and she shared something that happened to her years earlier, and it was that Stassi and Kristen Doty, no, or was it? I don't really remember. I don't remember how it came out. I don't remember if Stassi talked about it on her podcast. That's how we found out, or if Faith going on Instagram Live is how we found out. But basically, the grunt of it all is that Stassi and Kristen Doty called the police on Faith, and they falsely linked her to a woman wanted for theft, even though the woman was not Faith. And this happened in the same week that George Floyd was murdered. The exact same week. And so it was a really bad fallout. Coming off of the controversial firings, they ended up firing Stassi Schroeder and Kristen Doty. And plus the departure of problematic but entertaining Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright, the show at that point, it almost felt like a smartphone with about 2% battery. It's just barely hanging on. If you go to one more app, it's gonna cut off on you. But Stassi, overnight, she lost everything, as she should have. Her spot on the show, her agency representation, her brand deals. Now, do we like Faith? No. Just because Faith is black does not mean I like Faith. Faith was okay in the challenge. And I don't fault her for sleeping with Jax because she was not in a committed relationship with Brittany. Jax was. Now, I do feel for her because I feel like she thought he liked her. And I don't feel like Jax likes anyone, not even his own wife. He doesn't even like Brittany. So it's really messed up when you really think about it. But I digress. Maybe one day we'll do a whole nother video and talk about my feelings on that. But Stassi, overnight, she lost everything. She lost her spot in the show. She lost her agency representation. She lost her brand deals. But here's where I think it gets a little interesting from a cultural analysis perspective. She didn't disappear. Kind of like Ariana Grande. Stop. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to compare her to Homegirl from Big Brother, if y'all heard me. I didn't mean to call her Grimes. I didn't mean where did that come from? Who said that? Sometimes my daughter says something and she be like, did Jamal the ghost say that? So I'm like, who said that? In the words of Portia. Who said that? But she didn't disappear. Instead, what did she publish in 2022? Her book, Off With My Head, the definitive basic handbook to surviving rock bottom. This girl literally wrote a New York Times bestseller about being canceled. From calling the police on a black woman. You can't make this up. And then we get our attempted return. She's talked publicly about being invited back to VPR not long after the firing, but then the offer fell through. That's why she didn't come back. So she pivoted. Stassi Schroeder is still in the reality space, having just returned to the genre that year in tandem actually with Lisa Vanderpump for season 2, because Lisa Vanderpump got a whole nother show called Vanderpump Villa that I tried to watch. I promise y'all I tried to watch when my eyelids watched it more. Anyway, so now Stassi calls the Disney back streamer home as she's currently working on her half-hour docu-comedy apparently called Stassi Says. Y'all let me know how that go. I'll watch people make those things. I watched this so you didn't have to. I'll watch one of those of Stassi Says. And I don't hate Stassi. Stassi has given me life for a lot of times. But even though I don't like Faith as much as a character on this, like that's the thing people don't realize if you don't watch Vanderpump Rules. Faith was not really on Vanderpump Rules. I believe she may have been on Beyond the Deck or Below the Deck or whatever. which I do want to watch, and honestly not because of Faith. I want to watch because of Kate, because I love Kate from the Traders. It's weird because I know Kate from the Traders, but Kate is from Below the Deck. Anyway, I digress. Um, but yeah, so also Stassi has also apparently been recently tapped to host the season 3 reunion of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Fine, I guess. Interesting choice, I guess. Go host Love at the Lockup. We need a reunion show over there. I think that's like the same. I'm so shit. Okay. Anyway, so Stassi comes back, but she kind of came back by kissing the ring. She returned to the Vanderpump universe, even though as she kind of did return to the Vanderpump universe first through trying to get back into like Katie's good graces because she wanted to make sure she was in the wedding and part of that and yada 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 yada. But the Queen Bee of Sir, she really couldn't walk back through the front door. If you really think about it, she kind of had to find a side entrance through the Vanderpump Empire, and she had to go through the villa, y'all, through Hulu, through a completely different platform and a completely different show. I think Vanderpump Villa is not even filmed in the States, okay? She had to go to another country, which is kind of something a little bit poetic about that, because Stassi's entire identity on VPR, it was built on dominance, on being the person who decided who was in and who was out, and in the end, she was the one who was out, and when she came back, it had to be on someone else's terms. And that's why I said Stassi, the rise, the fall, the complicated return. Let's go into Tom Sandoval. So let's talk about Tom, okay? Let's just talk about Tom. I have a very complicated, because I have always given Tom the side eye for way before Ariana. I have had the side eye for Tom day A when he was with Kristen Doty. Because is Kristen Doty a nutcase and a half? Yes, she is. But don't sometimes it take a nutcase to be with a nutcase? And I think this is the case, okay? Nutcases. So Tom Sandoval is the man who committed what might be the most elaborately stupid act of betrayal in reality television history. So Sandoval had been in a long-term relationship with his fellow cast member, Ariana Madix, since 2013. It was almost 10 years later when in 2023, he was revealed to have engaged in a 7-month-long affair with Rachel Leviss, a friend and co-star, while he was still in Ariana. Remember they was buying a house, a very, very expensive house that they really probably couldn't be affording to do. One girl bought the house, all girl bought, and that's not a bad thing to do. Like one friend buy the house. I think that's a good influence, for a lot of go buy houses. That's not a bad thing. Buying property. But they really, really went out to go get like really nice fancy houses that look like carbon copies of everybody else's still, but whatever. So what ends up making this whole Tom Sandoval thing such an interesting case study, it wasn't just really the cheating, because like on reality shows, obviously people cheat all the time. Jax Taylor literally has it as a tradition on the show, right? No, what made the Sandoval different is the performance, right? Because for nearly a decade, he fooled y'all as he positioned himself as a sensitive guy. He was always annoying to me. He looked like he did nothing but irk Ariana's nerves. But he portrayed himself. He is talented though. I will say he's very, very talented. His music video, Touch in Public or whatever, is very good. And if you know Tom, you know he had his hand on every single part of that production because he's a performer. He's very talented. And if I was ever like someone who was rich and like famous or something, he would actually be the person I would ask to style me, because like just his attention to detail when it comes to like clothing, like he's very, very, honestly, be real with you, his mind in a sense, like it kind of reminds me of my baby brother a little bit. Just like this like genius in certain like areas of life, and like just like a vision of like the way they can see things. But unlike my brother, I don't like Tom. Okay, I love my brother. Tom, no sir. I would love him my publicist, or like not publicist, but like stylist, but never my boyfriend. And not ever my day in my life. Because there was always just something about him where like his sensitivity did not feel cute. for him to me. Instead, it felt more manipulative, and like, while people are seeing him as being emotionally intelligent, I just feel like he's being manipulative. I guess is why I felt like that. I don't know, like, even just like the way, like even like his attitude about his mom, like his mom couldn't even retire at the time from she wanted to retire, and I think she's a teacher. My mom's a teacher, and his mom, I guess, like, whatever money she was supposed to have to be able to retire, she, if, correct me if I'm wrong, 'cause I could be wrong, but if I'm not wrong, because Tom never paid his mom back, she can't retire in the time frame she should be able to retire. And it doesn't seem to me like he has any urgency, any gusto to get a move and to pay back your mom for a restaurant that failed, that she didn't believe in because she believed in you. That's what bothers me. Your mom put her entire life on the line for you, basically, to me, from what I've seen, from what I know, and I just know limited information. I don't like that. I don't like the way he acts. I don't like his attitude around it, I guess, is more of my thing. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a focus for him. When I think an interview asked him, "Did you pay back your mom?" And he was like, "No." Like it was funny. That ain't cute. Pay back your mama. Okay, anyway, sorry guys. Sorry. Thought I was talking to Tom. I thought I was talking to Tom for a second. Pay back your mother her money. We gonna have a problem, Tom Sandoval. Anyway, but for nearly a decade, Tom positioned himself as a sensitive guy, the emotionally intelligent one, the one who was not like the other Bravo men. He wrote a cocktail book with Ariana, even though that was supposed to be her book by herself. See, manipulative. He opened businesses, Schwartz and Sandy. He played in a cover band. Do y'all know what his name is for his cover? Y'all know his band. His band name is Tom Sandoval and the Tom Most Extras, or something like that. That is his. But his music is still kind of good. That one song, "Touch It Public," the video, it's just really good. Go watch it if you ain't watch it. It's actually really, really freaking good. I'm surprised it only has like 45,000 views. But anyway, to everyone else, he seemed like the guy who had his act together, right? Like, in a way, he even gets tapped to open a restaurant with Lisa Vanderpump. Someone who would be like, "Child, I'll let you be my employee, but you can never get close to being my equal." And they really weren't her equals in that venture either, but the closest you could get to it was her opening a restaurant with their name on it. And like, she also looked out for them, to me, when it came to their restaurant, giving them money from Tom and Tom, just a lot of maneuvering to try to make sure that they weren't in as a bad of a financial position as they were putting themselves into by putting all of his mama money in that failing restaurant, Schwartz and Sandy's. But anyway, I digress. I can't believe I'm still here. And that I instead went on to talk about Tom, and I thought it was gonna be like done. I may just end up finishing talking about everything I want to talk about, and then just go end up passing out and listen to my daughter read to me for the rest of the night, I guess. So, at least I know I'll be done, like, talking about Vanderpump, and I've got it all out. Because if not, then I'll like, want to add a bunch of more stuff, and then we'll come back, and these slides will be at the hundreds, like the other one was for Kelly Dodd and stuff. Anyway, where was I talking about? I was talking about what's it called. Okay, let's get back to it. So it turns out that Tom had been carrying on this secret affair for 7 months, complete with literally matching lightning bolt necklaces, secret trips, and in what might be the most damning detail, reportedly sleeping with Raquel in the house he shared with Ariana. The gap between who Sandoval presented himself as and who he actually was, that's what people miss. That is what turned this reality TV cheating scandal into a mainstream cultural moment. And literally, the numbers tell the story. Because in the 10th season, the ratings hit 11.4 million. Like 11.4 million people were glued to the screen live time. 11.4 million. Now, I know people love to watch cheaters, but 11.4 million, this is the crux of it. So Vanderpump Rules, it wrapped up its Scandival filled 10th season as the most watched cable series of 2023 to date among adults from 18 to 49. 11.4 million people. The most watched cable series of 2023. Not the most watched reality show, not the most watched Bravo show, the most watched cable series, period. And this is a show about restaurant workers that know from a lady, a British lady, that no one expected to survive past season 2 in its 10th season, dominating the entire cable landscape. And the executive producer, oh, he knew what he had. He called it, and I never heard this word before, but he called it a monoculture. He said it was insane and proof that there can still be a monoculture. A monoculture in 2023, in the age of infinite content and fragmented attention spans. A reality show about a bartender cheating on his girlfriend, it managed to create a monoculture. That's how powerful this moment was. Their affair, it literally simultaneously breathed new interest. Can you call it affair if they're not married? I don't know how that works. But it simultaneously breathed new interest into Vanderpump Rules while subsequently destroying the show. That sentence is probably maybe the most concise summary of Scandal's impact ever. It saved the show by killing it. And as for Ariana, the good news is she handled the mess with a level of grace that turned her to one of the most in-demand personalities in entertainment. She was on Dancing with the Stars, and she finished 32. 32. She finished third place on the 32nd season of it. She became Roxy Hart in the musical Chicago, a very infamous position. Um, she also became the permanent host of Love Island USA. And here's the irony that a writer's room could not have invented. There's a story that Tom Sandoval once complained that he and Ariana had different interests, and that she just wanted to sit around and watch Love Island all day. And the show literally responded by making her the host. Tom Sandoval complained that his girlfriend watched too much Love Island, and she becomes Love Island, which is not karma. That's a screenwriter's dream that reality TV kind of just handed us for free. And now here's the thing about Ariana on Love Island that you need to understand to appreciate how weird and wonderful this development truly is. If you know Ariana from VPR, you know she was always the more laid back, the more tomboyish person in the group, the more almost like kiddish person. She one time like held a birthday party as like a 22-year-old. No, Ariana's also a lot older than y'all would think. I think she's like girl, child. She's in her 40s. Ariana Madix is in her 40s. She is in her 40s. I'm not crazy. She's in her 40s, and if I remember correctly, I remember this girl was 30 years old having a bouncy house party. She's not like the rest of them. She's not your typical obsessed reality. Hey Siri, how old is Ariana Madix? She's 40. Do it. She's 40, okay? She's not your typical glam obsessed reality personality. She's not the person you picture hosting a dating show where beautiful people couple up on a tropical island. She literally has said, I was never made for reality TV. I don't think I've ever been what makes her a good reality star. And yet it works. It works precisely because she's not the expected choice, y'all. She brings this self awareness and this authenticity to Love Island that the show needed. The same qualities that made her the fan favorite on VPR. She's like, homegirl who is also the other host. Can't think of her name, but she's the girl from the comedy show. Oh my gosh, like her, but like just a little bit fits the role, just a tiny bit better. But I also think that she was a really good host too. To be honest with you, I think everyone's a good host the time they're in. I'm trying to always be fair to people, and plus my memory is really bad, so sometimes there may be things I just really forgot. That may either make me like them more, or like me, may make me like them less. I can't ever remember, but she brought this self awareness and this authenticity to Love Island that the show needed. And it just made her like the same qualities that made her the fan favorite of the PR, the person everyone rooted for, the one who didn't play the game the way everyone else played it. And as for Sandoval, post Sandoval, whatever, in the time since the Vanderpump Rules days, he has worked the competitive reality TV circuit, and he feels a little desperate. And honestly, his best role is the House of Villains that he's on right now, and I actually like him on it, and it feels like he fits there. You know what? Maybe one day we'll come here and talk about Johnny Middlebrook too. when homegirl said that he was like Drake's like bad Drake impersonator or whatever, I just died. Anyway, now Tom is basically the guy you bring on shows you need a villain, which this is his brand now, and he actually really fits. I'm trying to tell you. But this man who spent a decade performing sensitivity has been rebranded as a professional reality television bad guy. And the thing is, based on everything we saw, that might just have been who he was all along, because I do believe it was. So, next, I want to talk about the seasons at the show that grew itself a season by season shift. I want to trace how VPR changed over time, because I think understanding that shift is essential to understanding why the show eventually had to reboot, because I really had to think about it. All right, so let's go for it. Okay, so you got your seasons 1 through 3, which are peak authentic VPR. Everyone still works at Sir. The drama is real, petty, and rooted in the specific dynamics of coworkers who are also hooking up. The apartments are small. The cars are old. The raw, unpolished nature of the relationships and conflicts just had this authentic sizzle that would become harder to maintain as the cast grew more media savvy and got a little more money in their pocket. You had that Jax, Stassi, Frank love triangle that gave us our first taste of Jack's pathological lying, and Miss S's Schneider, razor sharp wit. And this is like the era that the foundation, everything else was built on. So now we get to season 4 or 5. And this is where VPR is really kind of hitting that stride. Season 4 was when Vanderpump Rules really hit everything, right? It delivers that perfect cocktail of like relationship drama, friendship betrayal, unforgettable one-liners. Stassi come back, she gotta kiss the ring and grovel. And Stassi, she returned to Sir with her tail between her legs after her little dramatic exit the previous season. She begins the groveling tour by scheduling lunch with Lisa. You get Lala Kent entering as a new hostess and immediately becoming a target. Lala, you got Give Them Lala, that's the book. In her memoir, she revealed that she first visited Sir at age 18, and eventually she got a short-lived job there when she was 23. But then years later, she happened to run into Lisa, and Lisa offered her another hostess job at Sir with the possibility of appearing on the show. And so this is where you get the Katie Lala war beginning, and that summer crossover happens, and this is kind of like your golden era, right? And so then we get to season 6, 8, and that's kind of the transition period. Because now, as Vanderpump Rules becomes more popular and the cast starts to take advantage of opportunities far beyond Sir, you see that power disparity kind of kick into play, because it's lessening. Most of the cast, they stop being on the payroll at Vanderpump's restaurants, and now you no longer have her restaurants being, the central background of the show in total, right? So now her role kind of becomes more unclear and more muddled. Like, where does she fit in? They do kind of keep us, fed enough with giving us some good scenes and some, good Ken jokes. I'm pretty sure people, because I don't know what time frame between when Lisa stops being on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and is only in the VPR universe. I don't remember like exactly what time frame that happened, but I'm pretty sure there are people who miss seeing Jiggy and miss seeing Ken, and so they feed us with a lot of those scenes if I remember correctly. But the Tom Toms, they open Tom Tom with Lisa. The cast members, they're buying their $1 million homes. The working class premise is totally gone. Tom was a bartender at Sir from I think 2012 to 2019. I might need to take me a drink of water because I haven't stopped talking for I don't even know how long. But the show that we have about semi-famous people navigating this strange claustrophobic world of being on one show, they're together for too long. Season 8, it tries to interject new blood, but the audience, no one just really connected with the new additions the way the producers hoped. The original cast, they had chemistry that just forged over years of real friendship, real history, real betrayal. You cannot manufacture Kristen Doty cheating on Tom with Jax in the living room. You can't. You cannot. Season 9 is widely considered the low point, coming off of the controversial firings of original cast members, Stassi and Kristen. Plus, you got Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright. Like I said earlier, the show started feeling like that 2% battery life with the phone. If you go to one more app, y'all, it's off. The phone's dead, and then you got to try to plug it in, and it's going to show that the red battery. Then sometimes, if you're me, you wonder, is it actually charging? So you unplug it, and then it shows a little plugger charger. It's like, oh wait, no, it was charging. You plug it back up. Maybe that's just me. But like I said, season 9, the 19 also happens, and it makes production have to navigate these awkward social distancing protocols that would make the usually intimate drama now feel very distant. And then you got season 10, the Scandival Renaissance, right? The show is absolute peak popularity, breaking every rating records Bravo had, almost TV had. But the cruel irony, their affair simultaneously breathed new interest into Vanderpump Rules while subsequently destroying the show. So it earned them an 11th season through the turmoil along the cast, led to Bravo ultimately deciding to restart the series with a new cast for season 12. So season 11, kind of like, let's call it the hangover season. Lisa, she said that it just got a totally different feeling talking about season 11, because also with the others, they were older now. There are more serious problems. It was fractured. Some didn't want to film with each other. It wasn't the show we started with. And see, that fractured feeling, people not wanting to film with each other, that's the legacy of Scandival. The scandal was too big. The sides were too defined. Ariana could not be in scenes with Tom. The friend group had cleaved so completely, there was no point in putting to get back together. And it was weird. It was like, I was like, why are you guys even together anymore? Like, if y'all are still trying to be friends, stop. Cut the cameras. But they decided to give us new girls. I don't know why. But I say leave, come back 15 years from now. I want to see where they at. Vander alum. VA. I don't know. Don't call me the name shit. SHIT. Trying to watch my mouth. I don't know how YouTube works with cussing. But like I said, the friend group was just done. It was doors closed. Aaron told people, I don't think I was ever going to go back to the Vanderpump Rules. This is the first time I ever said that publicly, but I was never going to. It just didn't feel right. Not in any sort of rude way, not in a professional, we don't need this, not in a, I'm too good for this, but it just didn't feel right. See, the show had outgrown its cast, and its cast had outgrown the show, and there was just no going back. So, after this break, Bravo decided to have an entire new cast for the season 12 reboot after 11 seasons centered around the original cast. And this reboot, I ain't watch it, premiered, I had to look this up, y'all. I had to look all of it up, but we gonna get through it, okay? This reboot season, it premiered, which also is interesting, just another side note, I noticed that this season of Vanderpump Rules, it's supposed to have been so interesting, but where's the after show? Where's the after? Also, and they could have, because I don't watch like live, like a lot of the watch what happened live. I don't watch them live, ironically enough. But I'm just very curious. Have all of the Vanderpump Rules been invited on Vanderpump on Watch What Happens Live? I'm very curious. I'm gonna look that up later, because I could be wrong. Maybe they have been on there. But the reboot season premiered in December 2025 with notable shift in the franchise direction. Lisa Vanderpump, of course, as the queen, is the only remaining cast members, and your new additions to the series, y'all ain't gonna see no pictures. Who these heifers? No offense, y'all. But it's Venus, Jason, Chris, Angelica, Marcus, Audrey. That's my grandma's name. Natalie. That was my friend's name. Demi and Kim. I never had a friend named Venus. I like Venus as a name, actually. That's a very interesting name. Anyway, so Lisa ensured. I wonder if Marcus is black. Anyway, I don't think I've ever met a white Marcus. I guess there are. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are. I have never met one, to be honest with you. But anyway, so Lisa ensured that this time that it was going to be all authentic. Can never speak. She said, I know we had another group of cohesive people that worked here for years, so I thought, okay, let's put them on camera, see what the network thinks, and they loved them. But them being authentic was key to me. I didn't want to start again and try to get a group of people together and have them start working for me. And so apparently the reviews have been mixed. If you look on Reddit, they're awful. But everyone says never look on Reddit. But when Bravo announced that its beloved series would be quickly rebooted with a brand new cast, leaving only Lisa Vanderpump in the mix, Fans quickly expressed doubt that the reboot could live up to the original, because you just can't. We're gonna get into this. So anyway, some critics, they say they see the potential. Vanderpump Rules chooses to update its formula for the era, but stick to what it knows best. That it's all about messy relationships between coworkers who are looking for more than what they currently have. Some have said the cast feels like a great mix of personalities, and their ability to light a fuse leaves me hopeful that Vanderpump Rules is back, baby. While others are less enthused. Some said that the problem with these reboots, with these new casts, is that it's obvious they're actors or trying too hard to be famous, forcing fake storylines. Like, you cannot naturally get what do you say? Be a good boy, old man. Make me a cosmopolitan Pumptini. Like, you can't replicate that. But apparently season 12 premiered with 2.6 million viewers across platforms, making it bigger than all series in 2025. And Lisa has been saying to the cows come home that this is what Gen Z is like. They're so honest about the way they feel. And da da da. Meanwhile, the original cast are kind of scattered across the Bravo and streaming landscape. So you got Jackson, Brittany, and Kristen. They went to the Valley. Scheana comes over there sometimes too at the Valley. Because the Valley like the suburbs for like the area. So they just went down the street, child, and called a different show. That's really what they did, and they just added some other people. Lala, Tom Schwartz later joined that show too. At Bravo 2025, Tom Sandoval, because you know Tom can't be away from Tom too long, or the motor car would be empty. The side car and the motor car would be empty. Stassi, she goes to oh yeah, Tom said he's gonna be trying to think about joining the Valley, child, if the Valley would have you, child. Because I don't really know where Tom would fit in the Valley. I don't know where Tom Schwartz would fit in the Valley, because the Valley focus is a lot more on like the suburbs and like raising families. And Tom Schwartz ain't got no child. Tom Schwartz is the child, and Tom Sandoval is the child. Like Tom and Tom are the ones where it's like, don't finger paint my wall, child. Like, I don't know, like whatever. But Stassi, she went back to Vanderpump Villa and got that Hulu development deal. Ariana, as we know, she's in Love Island. And Katie, she opened her sandwich shop with Ariana, all about her. And Katie has her podcast, because you know that child has a vicious tongue. So the VPR gang didn't just leave the show. They kind of like splintered across the entire television landscape, each carrying a fragment of what made VPR work. But here's the question I think the reboot has to answer, and the same question I just keep coming back to. Okay? And this is the question. Was Vanderpump Rules a show about a place? Sir, West Hollywood, the specific energy of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurant. Or was it a show about specific people who happen to work there? Because the show and the best shows in this genre, they feel completely natural. And isn't that precisely why the original Vanderpump Rules was so special? And I'll be honest, even hearing about the reboot, it just makes it feel like a different show to me. That's why I'm like, yada, 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 because I don't feel like I'm talking about the same thing. Not that the new cast is bad, but when do you ever get a moment like Katie and Tom getting married? All for Lisa. Because we know those two did not want to be. What did Katie say to Tom? What did Katie say? Your dick don't work. And he said, my dick is a classic dick. It does. Excuse me? Come on. They were so mean to each other. Tom and Katie's relationship was founded around how vicious can I be to you? Didn't Tom throw a drink in Katie's face? Are you kidding me? And didn't Katie, her whole face was shattered. She was in a horrible accident, fell off of like a something story building or like a railing. She was taking pictures with her friend in some apartment building or something. Fell through glass. Like her entire face was like ruined. Like she had to have like a metal like brace like all over her like just to keep her face together. Like she went through some stuff, and her and Tom were vicious to each other. When do you get that again? When do you get Stassi and Jax and Kristen and Katie and Scheana and the Toms and Ariana and Lala and the specific unrepeatable chemistry of those specific people in that specific moment in time? Because you can put new people in a restaurant all you want, but you cannot recreate this 10 years of shared history, betrayal, trauma. You can't manufacture the fact that Kristen slept with Jax while dating Tom in the other room and then spent 3 seasons losing her mind about it. You cannot engineer Stassi's iron grip on the social hierarchy or Jax's compulsive need to blow up his own life or Ariana's quiet refusal to play the game the way everyone else played it. That was lightning in the bottle. And again, Bravo, you're not about to put lightning in the bottle. What they say, you can't put baby in the place. Isn't that a saying? I don't know. But anyway, can't believe we're still here. And I'm not bad. Not mad at it. Not mad at it. So let's zoom out. Let me calm down. And let's talk about what Vanderpump Rules actually did to the reality television landscape, because its influence is bigger than most people realize. First of all, VPR pioneered the following the help model, because before VPR, Bravo spinoffs were about giving a housewife her own platform. But instead, VPR, it kind of said, what if we follow the same people who serve the housewife? It's almost like a weird idea. It's like so crazy it could almost work. And it worked. It's been over a decade since the first season of Vanderpump Rules debuted on Bravo, starting out as a byproduct of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but quickly emerging into its own league in the reality television subgenre. And that shift in perspective from the boss to the workers changed everything. And Bravo has been trying to replicate it with varying degrees of success. I would say Below Deck is one. Now, my second point, VPR proved you don't need aspirational wealth to make compelling Bravo television. For years, the network's formula was rich women, fancy things, watch them fight. While VPR said, actually, broke 20-somethings fighting about who hooked up with who in the walk-in cooler is just as, if not more, entertaining, and the ratings proved it. Third, VPR accidentally created this template for modern ensemble reality TV. Cast people who already know each other, right? Put a camera on their pre-existing drama. Don't try to manufacture the storylines, because even if they didn't work there at all time frames and the way they were saying they were working there, the drama was real. They were actually doing these things they were saying they were doing. It wasn't some just a manufactured, let's make this into something else when it wasn't. No. Let the mess be the story, and the show stays authentic by pulling their cast from the staff at SUR rather than a formal casting process. It's just who's kind of up and ready to be on a reality show, and who pops, and who's legitimately there. You're not casting people, so to speak. And that's what Lisa Vanderpump told Entertainment Tonight. Now, fourth, Scandival proved that reality TV could still create a monoculture. In an age when everyone's watching different things on different platforms, a Bravo show about a bartender's affair dominated the cultural conversation for months. The Scandal's cultural renaissance, it went far beyond the series itself. It showed how the public and the fan communities engaged with the Scandal in real time with media commentary. And fifth, and this might be the most important one, VPR created a franchise. Starting out as a byproduct of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it quickly emerged into its own league. The show that was supposed to be this throwaway spinoff has now spawned its own spinoffs. Jack and Brittany Take Kentucky, The Valley Shaws, Vanderpump Villa, and the now rebooted 12th season with an entirely new cast. A spinoff has become a franchise. The Help, think about it, The Help became the Empire. So my last thoughts, did I say that right? Last thoughts, see, I told you I can't speak. My opinion, Vanderpump was just never supposed to work. It was supposed to be a throwaway spinoff built on a backdoor plot pilot inside a Real Housewives episode that most people probably fast forwarded through. And it followed waitresses and bartenders instead of millionaires. And its cast was too young, too messy, too mean, and too real for the polished Bravo brand. And yet, it became one of the most defining reality shows of its era. It gave us Stassi's grip, Jax's psychopathy, Kristen's unhinged detective work, Katie's cold-blooded reads, Lala's entrance from hell, Scheana's unshakable optimism, good as gold, Ariana's quiet revenge arc, Tom Sandoval, the man who proved that the person performing the most goodness on camera might be hiding the most darkness behind it. This show pioneered a format, and it broke every rule of what Bravo was supposed to be, and accidentally created a new template for reality TV that the industry is still trying to replicate a decade later. The story of Vanderpump, I think, is one of survival more than anything. So anyway, Vanderpump Rules is basically a show about beautiful people being ugly to each other, and we loved every second of it. Because at the end of the day, Sir wasn't just where you took your mistress. Lisa herself said, I used to say, Sir is where you take your mistress, but now it's probably where you meet her. It's really where Bravo took a gamble on a show that broke every rule they had and accidentally created a masterpiece. They were just never supposed to work. And the reason it worked, the reason it really worked, oh, point, is that it captured something true about human nature. Put a group of beautiful, ambitious people in a confined space, give them alcohol and proximity and the knowledge that the cameras are rolling, and they will destroy each other with a smile on their face. Not because they're bad people, although sometimes they can kind of feel like it, but because that's what happens when ego, desire, and jealousy and loyalty all crash into each other in the same West Hollywood restaurant, night after night, year after year. And I'll be honest, even just the reboot, I feel bad, but it's just not it for me. One part I did forget to kind of get into a little bit. I was trying to make sure I wrapped everything up because once I'm gone, I'm gone. Okay. Even though my brain will likely think of more things I want to talk about. Um, but in the season 8, I know I briefly glossed over it. Um, that was kind of his first introduction into, because I'm trying to find my notes, trying to find these heifers' names because I don't want to say them wrong. That's why I'm stalling, trying to slow down until I find where I was. Because Lord knows I cannot. I remember one of them, one of the ones from season 8. They tried to like plug into the atmosphere. Was his name Max? Because it was like the weird Scheana Shay scenes, and then she needed someone to do the music video with her, and then for some reason he did it, and he just always felt like he was just trying to put her down and stuff, to me at least. If I sound like the woman apologist, I am. Period. Go women. Okay, Max Boyens. I was right. Brett. So in season 8, Bo, Stassi's now husband, actually was promoted from recurring cast member. I knew there's some points I was missing. From recurring cast member to series regular. Then you had Max. They were trying to add Brett because if you recall, they were also trying to like show like them also working at Tom Tom and trying to add that atmosphere into it. Pump was closed. Lisa Vanderpump and Ken Todd, they had partnered with Tom Sandoval and Tom Schwartz to open Tom Tom restaurant and bar in West Hollywood, California. I found my notes finally. And that's when the Toms went from being Lisa's employees, Tom Schwartz was not. Um, but then to being the business partners. I remember at that point, at sometimes, was he on Instagram? Sometimes I feel like I would see Tom, um, Sandoval working at Sir bartending, and then like the next half of the day at Tom Tom, like in like a suit or something like that or whatever. And then Lisa eventually was like, "Bro, if you don't get your behind over here to Tom Tom, and do your job, what you think I'm paying you for? Get from behind that bar." But anyway, but when this happened, it made another power dynamic shift, because now this puts Tom like a step closer to Lisa, which is weird. So the class divide that had made the show so interesting in early seasons are starting to dissolve. Even like Katie's trying to figure out, like, where's my place in this venture as his wife, and like Lisa knowing that, of course, and like like Lisa obviously has a high respect for marriage and all this type of stuff, which didn't bode well for their future when they divorced, especially because Lisa married them. She was not happy. But yeah, and the firings came, then COVID. It was just a lot. And you know what? Now that I look at their names, Max, Brett, Dana, they're not that important in the realms of VPR. So I think that's just about it. I guess I could have just ended it on where I was ended it. Gonna end it, but now I'm just gonna end it. So thanks for if you're here with me still this long talk about VPR. Um, Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Bye.